Well, everybody's heard about the bird. Bird, bird, bird. The bird's a winner. Well, a bird, bird, bird. Bird is a winner.
Welcome back to another edition of Kicking It with Bird and Mook. We're here with your hosts, Brian Mook McMurdy and Robert Bird Brown. And today we have another special guest. We have Mike St. Martin, the head coach of Mount St. Joe High School. Mike, how you doing today?
Good. How you guys doing?
I'm doing great. Hey, how long have you been at Mount St. Joe?
Coaching, this is my 18th year at Mount St. Joe.
Wow.
Yes.
All right, so in addition to serving as a head coach, what else do you do?
I have 3 kids, so busy with them, coaching them in multiple sports. At St. Joe, I am the head of health and physical education, of course, varsity soccer coach, and assistant athletic director, and then I also help out in the discipline department for a period or two.
So you kind of wear a number of different hats there at Mount St. Joe.
Many hats, yes.
Tell me about that school. It's an all-boys Catholic school in one of the Archdiocese of Baltimore system. What else can you tell me about Mount St. Joe?
All-boys school, educationally great school, and top-notch. One of my players is at Harvard, graduated 2 years ago. Many other schools, Bucknell, George Washington, a lot of great schools, local schools too, Maryland, Towson. So guys moved on to some education, some very good schools. Sports-wise, top-notch. Also for sports, not only in soccer but other sports. Steve Clevenger, who's the backup catcher for the Orioles, Mount St. Joe grad. Mark Teixeira, first baseman for the Yankees, when he's playing, is there. And we got Gavin Floyd, who also pitches, was with the White Sox, I believe, is with the Braves now. And then some basketball players also. So a lot of good athletes also, aside from the great academics.
Well, I know most of my wife's family are Mount St. Joe graduates. Our oldest son broke away from the fold and became a Cardinal from Calvert Hall. But if somebody was, an 8th grader, prospective 8th grader, they're looking at some schools around, what can you tell them about Mount St. Joe? What distinguishes that from any other Catholic school?
Well, I mean, just the school in general, I think what we do at St. Joe, and my son will be coming in next year, and I'm excited for him to be coming in, not only just for the academics and athletics, but the things that we expect them to do outside of school, service hours, turning basically boys into men, and making sure that they're doing things the proper way. And I'm just excited for him to experience what Mount St. Joe has to offer outside of just the sports and academics.
Yeah, as you probably know, I was able to watch my middle son come through Westminster High School, where I teach, and I actually had him for a couple of classes. There's a few times I had to wake him up with an eraser, but you think you'll get a chance to coach it, or to obviously to coach your son, but how about to be able to teach him there?
Well, hopefully I'll be able to coach him if he makes the team. But teaching, I don't know. It's all luck of the draw. That's up to the assistant principal and how that shakes out. But hopefully I'll be able to have him in class. That'd be kind of special. Gotcha.
Now you'll bring him in like everybody else, maybe for a camp this summer, and before he gets a chance to try out, so you get him ready.
I do run a camp at Mount St. Joe, and if you went to the school website under camps, you can go ahead on there to register, and that's July 21st through the 24th for boys going into grades 5 through 10. Pretty happy with the camp that I run. I feel like I want to put on a camp that I would pay for. So I've got a lot of positive feedback. We've sold out the last 6 years. I only take 100 boys, and we've sold out for the last 6 years. So we do a lot of conditioning in the beginning. It's more of a high-level camp than it is beginner's camp. We do speed and agility, bungee cords, parachutes, and for about the first third. And then a lot of technical stuff in the middle, ball handling skills, and stuff like that. And then towards the end, we try to incorporate all that into some play towards the last part of the session.
Now, what week is that? You just do it 1 week during the summer?
I just did 1 week. We might have to add another one because I was just told that we've just opened it up 2 weeks ago, and we're already half full. So right now it's July 21st through the 24th.
Hey, Saint, it's Mook. How you doing?
Hey, what's up, Mook? How are you?
Good. Hey, what's your telephone number for people to call in to send their son to your camp, or also your website?
The best way to get to me is through the website. You can go to the school's website, but an easy way to remember, I also have my own website that directs you to that, is www.aaa, that's AAA, soccer.com. And then phone number would be 410-644-3300, and then extension 210.
Hey, I know that you've been around for about 18 years. When you took over the program, what was the record and what was the program like for soccer?
Before I took over, they had only won one game in MIAA in Mount St. Joe, and I believe the last time they won the championship outright was 1968. I believe they were co-champs in 1974. The history of Mount St. Joe soccer was great back in the 40s and 50s when they had some people that would come over. They were living on campus at that time, but up until in the 80s it was a little bit down, 80s and 90s. So tried to turn that around and been pretty successful doing so.
And one thing I've noticed for your resume, you had mentioned there's a lot of professional athletes that you had coached. One thing that Bird and I definitely have seen is a lot of parents try to put their kids through soccer from the time they're 6 years old up to the time that they're 18. You and I have talked in the past about this, of how kids end up getting burned out because they're only one sport. Can you tell about the diversity of other sports to make somebody a better athlete?
Well, I think there's a lot of research, too, as far as the benefits of playing multiple sports at a young age. Once you start getting into high school, you're going to have to specialize a little bit more. But at a young age, I think it's important for kids to be able to play multiple sports, not only for the benefits of learning the different sports and being able to learn the different aspects, which a lot of those relate with each other, but also for health benefits, too, and not preventing from injuries from just playing one single sport. I found that a lot of my better soccer players were multiple sport athletes. I know David Arnold, who just finished his 4 years at the Naval Academy and actually leads Navy's history in most caps. I believe it was 63 games played. He was a lacrosse player. I think he's a two-handicap golfer. He was on the junior national volleyball team. So just a very talented kid and a multiple sport athlete.
Mike, coaching a private school like Mount St. Joe, you attract players from pretty much all over the state. I would imagine mostly in the Baltimore area, but you do bring some from outside the area. Are all those players soccer-only guys, or do they? You just talked about a couple of your prime examples, but as a whole, what are you seeing mostly that play at the level that you coach?
Most of them that are coming in are playing, I'd say by 8th grade, maybe 2 sports. Some are specializing just in soccer. What I think you need to do is realize, get a feel from your kid and, what they want to do. It's not what the parents want to do, but more get a feel for the kid. If the kid's talented enough to be playing 2 sports, let them run with it. And then I think by the time they get into maybe their freshman or sophomore year, then they might have to be picking one to specialize in. I'd say we have a pretty good mix of maybe 2 sport athletes coming into high school, probably 50-50 that are playing just soccer and then are playing multiple sports.
All right, Mike, we got to pay the bills real quick. I'm going to break off for a commercial. We'll be right back with more Kicking It with Bird and Mook.
Hi, this is Jeff Laird, owner and general manager here at WTTR. Last December, when I bought the station, I knew that I couldn't leave any stone unturned about the operation of the station. I looked at everything: the personnel, the format, our commitment to the community, revenue opportunities, expenses, everything. And there was an expense that was making me extra crazy. We were spending a ton on ink cartridges, toners, and drums, over $400 a month, so I did a full review and called in several vendors to help us with our document processing needs. And there was one vendor that stood out from all the rest: Document Essentials. Brian McMurty of Document Essentials came in, looked at what we needed, and recommended a solution of network printing, faxing, scanning, and copying for just $179 a month. It's a no-money down, turnkey approach. Well, it's only been a couple weeks, but I already can see the savings, and we certainly don't look like one of those big box stores storing all kinds and types of ink cartridges. If your copier, fax, or laser printer doesn't have a service contract, or you're paying way too much like we were to process documents, then call my friend Brian McMurty of Document Essentials, 410-857-5255, extension 107. That's 410-857-5255, extension 107.
All right, we're back again with Mike St. Martin, head coach of Mount St. Joe High School. Mike, before we took a break, we were talking about the number of kids that might be coming to Mount St. Joe that are multi-sport athletes as opposed to specialized. Does Mount St. Joe as a whole encourage multiple sports, or are they pretty much looking for the specialists as they come into the high school?
No, St. Joe is actually looking for, if kids can do multiple things at St. Joe, that's the biggest thing that St. Joe preaches is whether it's athletically or in the arts or whatever, they don't want you to be an 8:30 to 2:30 guy. They want you to be involved in the school and, stay on the campus afterwards. So they are big into if you can play multiple sports, go for it.
And the coaches work well together with that as far as overlapping. Like you say, you make a nice playoff run and somebody's a basketball player. The coaches work pretty well with that.
They do. Actually, this year, funny you say that, is I actually had a kid that was a soccer player who also was a very good cross-country runner and track. And so this year, the cross-country coach and myself, he wanted to do both. Cross-country coach and I worked out the schedule where actually he trained for soccer, and then if he needed to do any extra training or cool down or rest, whatever, but he also ran cross-country in the fall along with playing soccer. So that was even two sports within the season. So I would say the coaching staffs work really well together at St. Joe.
Yeah, that's something I know in the public schools that we're not able to do yet. And I know there's a few school systems that, just by nature, the size of the school systems, have to allow that. But here in Carroll County and a lot of the bordering counties, we're not able to do two sports in one season.
Yeah, it's definitely difficult, but this kid was Dominic Gennario. I believe his mile time is around 4:22,
nice.
Which is pretty special. So he's going to be moving on. That's his number one sport as far as moving on and doing it at the collegiate level. So
is that 4:22 after playing 90 minutes of soccer?
No, I don't know. This kid's pretty special. Maybe he probably could pull that off. But
something tells me he has a lot of energy.
That is a lot of energy.
I don't know if my pickup truck can make it a mile in 4.22. So as a coach of a high school, and you get these players coming in, do you see any distinct differences between kids that, say, have specialized since they were 5, 6 years old versus the ones that may have played a little lacrosse, a little basketball, a little rugby, something like that?
I think a lot has to do with, how they were trained through those years. I can only go by the guys that I have coached, and now my son, who's in 8th grade, even though my son's playing 3 sports, I train him and we do, ball handling skills and things like that pretty much year round. So, we're getting the touch on the ball. I think in soccer where you have to have that, the touch on the ball and try to stay on the ball as much as you can. So I think a lot depends on how they were coached. Was it a parent that doesn't know anything about the game of soccer over those years? If you can get somebody that can train them well, then I think I haven't noticed much difference. I know when Gaetan came in, Gaetan is Gaetan Caltagliano, who's currently in his last year at UMBC. He plays center midfield for them. Went to St. Joe, and he was, they were I got as high as 3 in the nation, I believe UMBC did this year. But, he came in, he was definitely somebody that was always touching the ball, always had, working with either a trainer, working on a skill level. Played a couple sports coming into St. Joe, but then once he got to Mount St. Joe, he knew soccer was where he wanted to go with it and really focused on that.
Yeah, it's funny because when we were kids, I know 3 of us are real passionate about soccer, but back in the day, at the end of the soccer season, you put your soccer ball in the closet, you pull out your basketball, you play basketball for a while, you put that away, you break out the neat's foot oil and grease up your glove and go out and play baseball for a while. And it just seems like those days are gone. Obviously the need to continue your touches, and then lacrosse, we would tell the kids to sleep with their lacrosse sticks, and soccer, you want them to touch it 1,000+ times a day.
Right.
Time's a little different these days.
They are different. I remember that myself, getting out bringing back out the soccer shoes, and they were all crusted up. I didn't get the Vaseline or the mink oil out, and tried to soften them up some. But
yeah, my Kyle Roach soccer ball used to get all knotted up.
Well, I thought there was an interesting article too on U.S. U.S. lacrosse, interviewing a bunch of the Division I coaches. I know the Penn State coach was quoted, the Albany coach, Johns Hopkins coach, about multiple sport athletes and how if they had their choice between the two, as far as their recruiting, of course they have to have the skill set, but they'd rather as a multiple sport athlete to recruit just because their sense of the game they feel is better.
Hey, Mike, how far do you take your responsibility as a coach to get your kids to the next level, and especially once they go to college, say UMBC, and they excel there? Do you try to still mentor them and direct them past college to get them to the next level with any type of contacts or just knowing their skill set with their resume?
Well, I mean, as far as the collegiate aspect of it, I think that's one thing why, I can only speak from Mount St. Joe being there and in the MIAA, which is arguably one of the most competitive soccer leagues maybe in the nation. I think that playing at Mount St. Joe and in the MIAA really prepares them, for the next level. And I feel being there since I've been there for 18 years and have had numerous guys move on to colleges, I feel like people respect my opinion of players, and I can help them hopefully find a program that fits their skill set and move on. At the next level and above, they then built a resume where they should have been seen numerous times. My input can help a little bit, but I think at that point it's something that they need to work on their own, and I think that they've been seen enough where coaches can say, hey, we like this guy or we don't.
Do you have any of your current players playing for the Baltimore Bohemians?
Let's see. I know Gaetan was. I haven't checked. I got to check the roster and see. I know Gaetan played last year. Brad Benzing. Brad, the goalkeeper, plays for Millersville. I think it maybe just those two guys are playing. And then on the professional level, Jalen, who played 2 years for me, Jalen Robinson, 2 years ago graduated from Mount St. Joe, went to Wake Forest, got signed by DC United. He left Wake this year, signed a 3-year contract, homegrown player. Actually had hurt his hamstring in the beginning of the season, so he was just sent down to Richmond to try to get back on the field. And he played last week. They played Charlotte, who I have another player who played for me, Tyrone Hall, who plays for the Charlotte Eagles. So they faced off against each other, but I think Jalen's still working his way back on the field, so he didn't see the field that day, but Tyrone got in. Charlotte won 2-1 in the last 2 minutes of the game, I believe. So.
Impressive resume.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
So Charlotte and Richmond, are those both USL Pro franchises?
They are. They're both USL. So that's Richmond is basically the under squad for DC. I'm not sure if Charlotte has an affiliation with an MLS team, but they are USL.
The Harrisburg Highlanders have one with Philadelphia Union. It was Tim Holt, USL, that we had on several weeks ago. He was the one who signed that contract, platooning the USL, teaming up with Major League Soccer. I think he has about another year and a half left on that contract, and hopefully they will renegotiate the terms.
Yeah, that was a great show. So if anybody didn't listen to that show, I thought that show was very informative. He was a very good guest.
Yeah, it's going to be the roadmap to our future.
And thanks for the plug.
Yep.
We're going to take another break. We'll be right back with Kicking It with Bird and Mook.
Hi, this is Jeff Laird, owner and general manager here at WTTR. Last December, when I bought the station, I knew that I couldn't leave any stone unturned about the operation of the station. I looked at everything: the personnel, the format, our commitment to the community, revenue opportunities, expenses, everything. And there was an expense that was making me extra crazy. We were spending a ton on ink cartridges, toners, and drums, over $400 a month, so I did a full review and called in several vendors to help us with our document processing needs. And there was one vendor that stood out from all the rest: Document Essentials. Brian McMurty of Document Essentials came in, looked at what we needed, and recommended a solution of network printing, faxing, scanning, and copying for just $179 a month. It's a no money down, turnkey approach. Well, it's only been a couple weeks, but I already can see the savings, and we certainly don't look like one of those big box stores storing all kinds and types of ink cartridges. If your copier, fax, or laser printer doesn't have a service contract, or you're paying way too much like we were to process documents, then call my friend Brian McMurty of Document Essentials. 410-857-5255, extension 107. That's 410-857-5255, extension 107.
All right, we're back with our guest, Mike St. Martin, head coach of Mount St. Joe High School. Mike, one of the things I wanted to ask you is that, the difference between, say, club and travel and rec, as they progress to the high school ranks. One of my best success stories, I had a girl come in and never played club, never played travel. She basically was a co-ed player for her dad and the local rec council, and she's graduating this year and heading to Division II Lenore Rhine on a scholarship next year. So my question to you is, do you see any difference as these kids are coming into high school? Do you see mostly club players, travel players, rec players? What's out there?
I think coming into Mount St. Joe, most of them are playing club, and there are some players that are playing rec that are still playing maybe that multiple sport, and I know club players the coaches want them to commit year-round. So you do get, I'd say, maybe 75% club. I'd say maybe 25% rec. Just because they're playing rec doesn't mean that they cannot be successful, like in your situation. I think that if they're athletic and they come in and they're playing multiple sports, I think that they can transition and become a very good player. But I would say most of them that are coming in, 75% are playing club.
That's interesting, and I know it's a little bit different on the private school side as opposed to public schools. We pretty much get a mix of everything every year, and then it's some obviously the technical part of the club side players. Gives them an advantage, but overall, we pretty much pick the best ones that you need to make your roster each year.
Yep, and that's what you have to do, try to find those right pieces. I mean, soccer is still a team sport, so you can have the greatest player, but you got to have 9 other field players around them, and then a very good goalie, hopefully, to shut people down.
Now, also, we want to talk about the specialty training with the programs that you have to offer, and just for parents that are listening out there, and even, say, students are maybe in 8th grade and they're kind of going through puberty and becoming stronger. What are some of the pitfalls that you see people just going into one sport versus somebody who's diverse in any type of training?
I assume you're leading on. I also do speed and agility training, which I started up. There's actually an article written about my training that I was doing back in 2005, doing some speed and agility training, which now has definitely taken off and is kind of, you see just about everywhere now. But I think it's a great way for athletes to work on their coordination. Like you said, especially some of these kids that are going through puberty and they're growing, and with the agility and training that you do, it's a lot of repetition over and over again of certain moves that are very athletic moves. And as long as they're performed correctly, I think they're very beneficial. I think the one problem that we're coming into now is that everybody thinks if you get a hurdle out or a ladder and you put that down on the ground, that you're doing the correct kind of training, which is incorrect. If you're not doing the right thing over and over again, it's going to be detrimental. So I think the important part is that you're training the right way with the equipment that's out there.
Last week we ended up having futsal. Are you doing any futsal training within that program?
We do a lot of. We just built the $18 million athletic center over at Mount St. Joe, which is pretty impressive, which gives us a lot of court space. So we do a lot of indoor futsal training, which I think is great for ball handling skills. You don't have the walls for the ball to bounce off of, so you actually have to keep control of the ball, versus indoor, where the ball can just bang off the wall. So we do a lot of small-sided and futsal type of training.
What other sport do you think that actually complements soccer if the student played in a different season?
I found a lot, of course, being in the Baltimore area, that a lot of lacrosse players are doing both. Soccer and lacrosse seem to be the two that kind of coincide with each other.
Do you think that's because of the hand-foot skills, or do you think it's the passing lanes? Same type of.
I think it has. I mean, it's definitely not the hand skills, but I think it's something that just the shape of the team, especially lacrosse, is starting to go a little bit more zonal, where soccer has been there. I think I've always said lacrosse is probably like 5 to 10 years behind. Not only in this whole organization. I mean, if you look how organized soccer is now, it's amazing how far it's come. And lacrosse has kind of followed soccer's path, and is starting to, now you see a lot more clubs. You see lacrosse. You still see lacrosse where they'll let them to do rec and club, but it's starting to move now where these clubs are starting to want them to train more and more. But I just think getting back to answering your question, I think, you have similar positions. You got the midfield running up and down the field. I think it just lends itself more to the game of soccer.
Well, Mike, I'm probably going to open up a can of worms here, but one of the things that's very popular right now in soccer is the move to the academy soccer program, and our program has an opportunity to slide into the academy, but there's so much misinformation out there about academy versus high school and what you're allowed to play, what you're not allowed to play, things like that. What, if you don't mind me asking, where do you fit on this situation?
Well, I mean, of course, being a high school coach, and I think that high school has a lot of benefits to play. I think that, and I'm not saying that they should not be playing outside of high school. I think it's very important to be playing outside. I think that when we had the clubs and the high school should be able to coexist. I mean, there's no reason why that can't happen, and it should happen, and it has been happening, and kids have flourished in it. So I have a problem with them not playing high school. I just feel that there's a lot of benefits that we can get into of the high school game.
Such as?
Okay, well, such as, I mean, first high school, you're taking a leadership role. Maybe some of these kids that are just going to be playing academy could be a role player on that academy team. In high school, they most likely would probably be one of the captains of the team, so that's preparing them for the next level. I think that you're also dealing in high school. One of the benefits is you would hope all these guys that are looking to move on and play in college, well, what a better way to prepare them for college than actually playing in the high school scene, where if you're a senior, you have to learn how to adjust with an underclassman, bring them part of the team, team chemistry maybe with a freshman or a sophomore. Whereas you're even club or academy, you're pretty much playing on age throughout your life. And then all of a sudden you're thrown into the college scene where now you're a freshman, maybe you're not starting, and you now have to figure out how to handle that. So I think that high school definitely prepares you for that. Another benefit of playing in high school is that you have a coach most likely who teaches at the school or is affiliated with the school that can help, if anything, grade-wise arises or discipline. I know being in Mount St. Joe, I always have teachers come up to me, even if it's a little thing like missing an assignment or something, and say, "Hey, coach, can you just have a word with this player? He missed this assignment," and staying on top of things. So I think that's another great benefit of playing in high school. And then you can return to events when you come back from graduating from Mount St. Joe, and if you won a championship, whether we've been fortunate to win 3 championships in the last few years, then you can come back. You have alumni events. You have your year up on the banner that hangs in the gym that you can always come back to, and you're always part of the Mount St. Joe, where